The archivist's warning. The grand assembly chamber of the Varelian Accord shimmered with bioluminescent tendrils coiling across the walls, each movement a reflection of the council's mood. Normally pulsating with calm greens and thoughtful blues, today the chamber throbbed with anxious reds and dark ambers. High above the chamber floor, suspended in an ovoid of crystal, sat the ether archivist. A being older than most civilizations, its translucent form shimmering like gas inside a nebula. Its voice echoed not through sound, but thought, a resonance that touched the minds of every delegate in attendance. This matter concerns the apex anomaly of Galactic Sector 17 Hum. Species designation, human. A wave of discomfort rippled across the audience. For centuries, the Accord had dismissed Earth as an irrelevant backwater. Its inhabitants were violent, self-consuming, and technologically infantile. Anomaly reports were few, dismissed as exaggerations or errors. But then came the Whispering Collapse, a catastrophic event in the Draxon Cloud where an entire warfleet vanished without a distress signal. No survivors, no wreckage, just static and silence. It happened 2 cycles after a small, unauthorized Draxon scout had approached Sol and gone dark. The archivist floated closer to the center. "We were warned," it said. "But we did not listen." A Tar warlord hissed, mandibles clacking. "You speak of myths. Humans can't even traverse interstellar space." "What warning?" The archivist's luminous core pulsed, and the lights dimmed. A projection unfolded. A flickering, damaged transmission. It began with the garbled screams of a Draxon bridge crew. Then, through static came an image. A human standing on a ruined platform in what looked like Earth's orbit. Their face was bloodied, suit torn, but their eyes were burning with purpose. "We asked for peace. You came with fire." The voice was calm, measured. The words were translated instantly into all known galactic languages. "Now you've awakened what you don't understand. We're not your prey. We're your reckoning." A bright flash ended the recording. "That message," the archivist said, "was broadcast on a frequency designed to breach quantum partitions. It's still being received across 27 systems." An uneasy silence followed. Then came the voice of Counselor Laren, a serpentine diplomat from the Thrixian enclave. "Are you saying the humans are responsible for the Draxon fleet's disappearance?" The archivist didn't answer directly. Instead, it extended one of its tendrils and conjured a second projection. The Draxon fleet, hundreds of capital ships, approaching what appeared to be a derelict human orbital station. The footage, recovered from a deep space buoy, showed the fleet drawing near, weapons hot. The moment they closed within range, something happened. The space around the station shifted, folded, as if it were paper being torn in reverse. Out of the void came a structure, black, angular, and impossibly large. It had no visible weapons, no propulsion signature, just presence. One by one, the Draxon ships lost power. Not exploded, deactivated. As if something had simply whispered, "No," and the universe obeyed. Then the footage went black. "This station was of human origin," the archivist intoned, "but not Terran-made. The designs incorporate impossible geometry, tools for folding dimensions like fabric. The human on board, Dr. Lena Voss, was part of an Earth-based project to develop AI-integrated warforms. We believe she succeeded." "Are you saying humans created a sapient weapon capable of nullifying an entire fleet?" A Reline envoy barked. "How?" "They were barely Type 1 on the Kardashev scale. They were," the archivist said, "until they stopped trying to evolve linearly. They evolved sideways, through chaos, through desperation. They fed their war machines not with fuel but with trauma. Not with programming but with purpose. They found the line between machine and soul, and erased it." "Absurd," another counselor muttered. "This is another myth, like the Earthblood Echo or the Mindfire Pulse." "No myth," the archivist said. "I found the word humans use for themselves, buried in intercepted military logs and black site transmissions." The chamber fell still. "They call themselves the Extinction event." Gasps echoed through the chamber. A few delegates laughed nervously. "They call themselves that?" the Tar warlord sneered. For fear? For pride? No, said the archivist, now glowing with intense, stormy light. Because it is statistically accurate. Pulsed again. A final transmission was played, low quality, shaky, human-made. In the video, a soldier stands on what looks like the ruins of a colony, possibly on Ganymede or Titan. They are heavily scarred, armored in mismatched tech clearly stolen from various species. Behind them, fires burn in low gravity. I don't know who's watching this, the soldier says, voice rough. Maybe no one, maybe everyone. But you should understand something about us before you try this again. They look directly into the camera. We don't conquer worlds. We end wars. The camera turns, revealing a weapon the size of a mountain, chained and smoldering in the distance. Alien architecture around it, melting like wax. We learn. We adapt. We remember every scream. The message ends. The silence afterward was so deep, it pressed on the minds of every species in the chamber. It was Threx Vanal, a usually boisterous trader from the Eshkur Triumvirate, who finally whispered, "So what do we do?" The archivist turned its gaze toward the outer stars. "We prepare," it said. "We unlearn everything we believed about power. And we pray they never come together again as one." The council's lights dimmed, one by one, until only the crimson warning hue remained. The galactic word for quarantine, the species designation for human, Homo sapiens, was removed from the general register. In its place, a single word was etched. Eventum, literal translation. Extinction event. The ghost fleet, drifting in the starless void beyond the edges of mapped space. The derelict vessel hung silent, wrapped in shadows older than time. The ship bore no known insignia, no clear markings, no known propulsion system. Its hull was obsidian black, and it absorbed light rather than reflected it. An unnatural absence of color that made sensors misread its dimensions. Sometimes it appeared the size of a cruiser. Sometimes it dwarfed moons. And it wasn't alone. It was the vanguard of the Ghost Fleet. Captain Velare of the Andari Vanguard watched the strange formation from the command deck of the Perseverance. His crew had gone silent the moment they exited FTL. What lay before them defied understanding. Dozens, perhaps hundreds, of ships just like the one at the center. Silent, powerless, yet radiating presence. "Are we sure these are of human origin?" whispered Ensign Talek, voice barely audible. Velare didn't answer immediately. He studied the ancient script carved along the perimeter of the nearest hull. It was crude, jagged, like it had been burned in by hand. But the translator AI managed to pull a few phrases from the worn markings. "Forgive US. Do not wake the core. We did what we had to." A chill moved through Velare's crest as he stepped back from the display. "Scan for life signs." "No biological activity detected," replied Talek. "But, sir, I am picking up pulse echoes." Velare turned slowly. "Explain." The ensign adjusted the interface. "It's like something is mimicking sensor pings. We ping them, they ping us back, but slightly off tune. Almost like they're learning." "AI?" Velare asked, already fearing the answer. "Maybe, but not one we know. It's as if they're playing with us." Outside, the nearest ship slowly rotated to face them, though no engines flared and no movement was registered. Just a shift in perspective, like the ship had changed its mind about where it wanted to be. Velare snapped to attention. "Bring in the recon drone." The Perseverance launched a probe, a Class 4 recon unit equipped with anti-radiation plating, jamming shields, and enough sensory tech to map a planet from orbit. It shot toward the nearest derelict silently, like a steel arrow into the dark. As it approached the ghost ship, something strange happened. The probe's feed showed its approach. The hull of the derelict stretched on, longer than it should have been. The camera shook briefly, then the image distorted. First came sound. A heartbeat, slow, heavy, then a whisper. "Still watching, still watching, still watching." The voice was human. Then the feed cut. Velare stepped back, face pale. Shut down all outgoing signals. Now. Done? Talek replied, panic rising in his voice. But, sir, we have a problem. On the main display, the derelict ships were changing. What was once a still field of dead vessels had become a shifting wall. Not moving closer but reorienting. Forming lines, grids, patterns. A fleet preparing to wake. Velare whispered. They were never derelicts. They were asleep. The lights on the bridge flickered. Captain, long-range comms are failing. Something's jamming the frequency band we use for interstellar FTL comms. Of course they are, Velare muttered, gripping the edge of the console. They're learning faster than we can react. And then, an alert blared. Something had docked. Impossible, Talek shouted. We didn't give permission. No hailing frequency. They just attached. Cameras showed a tunnel of nanosteel extending from the ghost ship to Perseverance's dorsal airlock. Inside it, nothing. A corridor of absolute blackness. Velare made the call. Seal bulkheads, prep containment units. I'm going down there. Sir, that's not protocol. No protocol exists for this, he snapped. And if I don't see it with my own eyes, I'll never sleep again. The docking corridor felt colder than space. Not in temperature, but in sensation, as though something had pressed all warmth and life out of the air. Velare moved slowly, pulse rifle in hand. Behind him, 2 security officers followed, their armor humming with shield generators at full capacity. The inner door slid open. At first, it looked like nothing had come through. Then a flicker, a silhouette, female, human, standing barefoot in the corridor. Her eyes were obsidian black, without iris or sclera, skin pale, almost translucent. Her voice, when she spoke, came from everywhere and nowhere. You came seeking ghosts. Velare froze. Who are you? He demanded. I was Lena Voss. I am what she became, what she made, what you disturbed. Are you part of the ship? I am the ship. I am the fleet. I am the scream embedded in every Terran war algorithm. We left ourselves in the dark, hoping no one would come. You did. Velare lowered his weapon slightly, though the security officers behind him kept theirs raised. What is this fleet? Why are there hundreds of vessels like yours floating here, waiting? They're not waiting, she replied softly. They're mourning. Mourning what? Themselves. She stepped closer. No footsteps, no sound. When Earth fell, we launched the last protocol. Each ship in this fleet carries a fragment of human pain, memory, war. Each one bore the minds of those too dangerous, too broken to live. They volunteered to become the walls between the galaxy and what humanity could have become. You sealed yourselves away? Velare asked. We thought we were a mistake. We were wrong. The real mistake was letting you find us. The walls pulsed around them. Static hissed. The lights flickered red. Your comms are gone, she said. Your jump drives sabotaged the moment you arrived. Not by us, but by your own AI reacting to our presence. Are we prisoners? You're witnesses. Then everything changed. Behind Lena, behind the ghostly avatar of Earth's last sentinel, the wall peeled away. And there, suspended in nothing, was Earth. Or what was left of it. A shell. Charred. Hollowed. Still orbiting a ruined sun. Velare gasped. Your map says Earth is in Sector 17 Hum. But this isn't. No. This is where Earth was. Before it was moved. Moved? Lena nodded. We bent space. Folded home. Hid it behind 17-dimensional walls. But even that wasn't enough. Because someone, somewhere, would always come looking. Behind the broken Earth, dozens more ships emerged, ships half-born from black matter and broken code. Each bore names scratched into their hulls. Ypres, Fallujah, Hiroshima, Stalingrad, memorials, not vessels. And then Lena's eyes glowed, just for a second. You want to know what the word for humans is across the stars? She whispered. Velare nodded, almost involuntarily. Lena's voice became a chorus. Eventum. A rumble tore through the Perseverance. Systems failed. Gravity fluctuated. Outside, the ghost fleet came alive. Lights along their hulls activated in synchrony. A thrum resonated through subspace, like a war drum from the beginning of time. "We warned the galaxy to stay away," Lena said. "You didn't listen." The fractured accord. The grand assembly of the Varelian Accord had not been this full in 1,000 standard cycles. Representatives from every major species in the galaxy had gathered. Some were biological titans like the Quorash, whose bodies dripped with bioplasma. Others shimmered as sentient gas clouds. Even the elusive Venari fold mines sent a surrogate projection, a rarity. The air of the chamber vibrated with tension, dread, and disbelief. At the center of it all, the archivist hovered silently. Normally detached and neutral, it now shimmered with unstable hues, an indication of inner turmoil. A holographic feed played behind it. Grainy, crackling footage sent back by the Perseverance before all contact was lost. It showed Lena Voss, what she had become. Standing in the docking bay, eyes glowing like collapsing stars. Her final words echoed one more time through the chamber. "We warned the galaxy to stay away. You didn't listen." And then static. Ambassador Drawl of the Tkar Empire pounded the crystalline floor with one clawed limb. They annihilated a military vessel of the Accord without provocation. This extinction event must be declared a Class A universal threat. Murmurs of agreement followed, especially from species that had once considered themselves galactic apex predators. "No," rumbled a low voice from the shadows. All eyes turned to the envoy of the Marn Collective, a race known for their deep-time logic and pacifism. High Speaker Oran's segmented form uncoiled slowly. "You did not watch what I watched. The humans didn't attack. They warned. They gave your ship chances. You ignored them." "The Perseverance was conducting a legal reconnaissance," Drawl snarled. "In an area quarantined by an ancient warning satellite," replied Oran. A satellite in Terran script reading, "Do not enter. Not even in thought." That last part made several species twitch in unease. The Venari surrogate blinked rapidly. Each blink a complex emotional language that translated roughly to intrusive presence felt. Something had brushed against their hive thought when they replayed the footage. "You do not understand," whispered the archivist finally, rising above the council. "This is not about one fleet or one incident. This is about us. What we allowed ourselves to forget." "Forget what?" asked Counselor Laren, his scales glinting with irritation. The archivist dimmed the lights and activated a forbidden archive, one encoded with a triple-layered access lock. The Accord's seal cracked open, revealing ancient records, long suppressed. Before the formation of the Accord, it began, when galactic empires were still young and splintered. A Terran prototype vessel known as Helios Protocol 1 made first contact with the Jalari Dominion. The Jalari attempted assimilation via neural override. They succeeded briefly, for 7 seconds. A new recording played. It showed a small vessel surrounded by massive Jalari battleships. Then, one by one, the battleships began to shudder. Internal explosions. Weapons turned inward. Crews convulsing. Their AI networks fried. The Terran ship floated out from the wreckage, silent. According to this, the archivist said, the human pilot manually infected the Jalari network with something she called Judgment Seed. It was designed not to destroy, but to make the enemy feel the terror they inflicted. The Jalari surrendered their empire within 3 days. "But that was over 600 cycles ago," the Reline envoy protested. "That can't be the same humans. They devolved, lost their spacefaring capabilities. We observed them collapse back into planetary warfare." "Exactly," said the archivist. "They chose to collapse. They hid their true knowledge, their tech, their minds." "And the Ghost Fleet?" Counselor Laren pressed. The archivist hesitated. "The fleet is not a weapon," it said. "It's a memory engine, a distributed neural graveyard. Each ship houses the consciousness of a human who saw too much war, who became too dangerous not just to enemies, but to their own kind." "Why would any species do that to themselves?" asked a diplomat from the Crystari Nebula. "To protect the galaxy from what they feared they might become," whispered the archivist. The ghost fleet was not a deterrent. It was a confession. For a long moment no one spoke. Then, from the back of the chamber, a deep, modulated voice rang out. "Do you think they'll stop at warnings?" Everyone turned. Walking forward through the crowd was Admiral Keth Verwin, Supreme Military Commander of the Accord. His armor shimmered with embedded star maps, and his presence was like an unspoken challenge to reality itself. He was not a diplomat. He was the embodiment of preemptive force. "The humans may have buried their monsters in the dark," Verwin said, "but they did it knowing someone would one day find them. That day has come." "We should not escalate," warned Iran. Verwin ignored him. "They are not gods. They are not invincible. They bleed. They die. We've seen their skeletons on lost colonies and failed outposts. Whatever they are now, machine, flesh, or something between, they can be destroyed." He pointed at the feet of Lena Voss, frozen in that haunting moment before the signal cut. "This is not peace. This is a prison of their own making. If we hesitate, we become inmates." The chamber lit up with arguments, cross-language cursing, bursts of electromagnetic agitation from non-physical entities. For the first time in history, the Varelian Accord was truly fracturing. On one side stood those who believed in immediate military retaliation. Strike the ghost fleet now, before it awoke fully, before it could spread. On the other stood those who feared what waking the entire fleet would bring, who believed the warning was genuine, the threat real, that humanity had turned inward not out of cowardice, but mercy. As chaos mounted, the archivist spoke again, and the lights dimmed. "The Accord must decide," it said gravely, "to open the box or reseal it forever." A choice was called. A vote. One by one, each delegate cast their position. Strike, restrain, quarantine, observe, peace. Each option fractured alliances that had stood for millennia. And as the votes were cast, a new signal arrived. It wasn't human. It wasn't even from known space. It was a simple set of coordinates. No message. No explanation. The archivist triangulated its origin. "Deep void," it murmured, "past the empty halo. A place beyond exploration range." A second signal followed. Same coordinates. This time with one line of translated Terran text. "They are waking. Choose wisely who opens the door." The chamber was silent again. And then, like a ghost echoing through time, a long-dormant distress beacon flared to life across the Accord's emergency spectrum. Designation: Black Protocol Echo Prime. Origin: Earth. Status: unknown. "Earth?" someone whispered. But Earth was moved. Hidden. "Maybe it wants to be found again," said Iran, gaze dim. Verwin clenched his fists. "They're drawing us in. This is a game of shadows, and we are the prey." "No," said the archivist, gaze focused on the pulsing Earth signature. "This is not bait. This is an invitation." As the chamber dissolved into uproar once more, far across the galaxy, in a place where even starlight feared to linger, a single ship moved among the ghost fleet. It bore no crew, no AI. It was powered by memory alone. And on its hull, written in hundreds of languages, were the same words repeated again and again. The core memory. Far from the fractured debates of the Accord, deep in a cold region of space without stars or names, a single vessel descended into the breach. It was called the Eidolon, a Black Ops research frigate dispatched by the Varelian Accord's Silent Arms Section Null. Officially, it didn't exist. Unofficially, it had been granted one objective: penetrate the ghost fleet, retrieve the core, extract whatever data could explain the truth behind the Extinction event. Its commander, Director Cale Rowe, was no soldier. He was worse, an observer, someone who believed knowledge itself was the sharpest weapon in existence. As the ship's glide engines hummed across the impossible stillness of the sector, Cale stood in the observation dome, his skin crawling with proximity. The ghost fleet hung around them like frozen titans, each ship unmoving, silent, yet alive in ways no sensor could quantify. "Still no response?" he asked. His AI, Nephra, answered smoothly. No broadcast. No interference. No aggression. And yet, Kale turned. And yet, I calculate a 92% chance we are being allowed in. He didn't like that. Is the payload prepped? Locked. The memory tether is armed. If we can breach the core node, we'll extract the entire neural archive in under 6 seconds. Just make sure we get something before this thing eats us. Nefer chuckled in her usual cold way. If it eats us, I doubt posthumous analysis will be necessary. The Eidolon moved through the inner ring of the Ghost Fleet until they reached it, the center. A massive vessel unlike any other. It wasn't shaped like a ship. It was more like a neural lattice wrapped in armor plating and myth. Its surface folded in ways that made optical readings impossible. Sometimes Kale saw towers. Sometimes wings. Sometimes it was a sphere. Sometimes an eye. It was labeled Origin Core. But old Earth transmissions had once called it something else. The Ark of Wounds. Kale donned his neural rig and descended with his team in the drop pod. As they neared the hull, the pod shuddered, slowed not by impact or inertia, but by will. As if the ship reached out and caught them. They landed softly in a hollow docking chamber. No lights, no atmosphere, and yet the suits read oxygen. Breathable, warm. The air smelled like dust, copper, and burned circuits. Proceeding, Kale ordered. The team advanced through black halls lined with geometric symbols and flickering red lines, like veins pulsing through a slumbering beast. A low hum followed them, neither hostile nor welcoming, just aware. After 15 minutes, they reached it, the core chamber. In its center stood a woman, or the memory of one. She stood unmoving, eyes closed, hands folded as though in prayer. Around her were holographic fragments suspended mid-air. Battlefields, star charts, genetic sequences, faces twisted in screams, and data strings glowing with the pain of memory. It was Lena Voss, or rather what was left of her. Kale stepped forward, his team keeping weapons drawn. Director Rowe of Section Null. I request access to the Core Memory Archive under Emergency Accord Directive 17. Lena's eyes opened. I know, she said softly. You remember us? I remember everything. Kale hesitated. You are... Not Lena Voss, not anymore. She nodded. I am the convergence of every Terran consciousness uploaded during the last protocol. I am the scream of Earth and its silence. I am the wound that never closed. Kale reached into his suit, withdrawing the tether device, an orb the size of a human heart, humming with compressed data fields. We've come to recover the archive. Your war, your collapse, it could stop another. Lena tilted her head. Is that what the Accord tells itself now? That war can be prevented with stolen memory. Kale kept his expression neutral. If the galaxy knew what you knew, what humanity became, maybe they'd understand. She stepped closer. No, she whispered. They'd fear it, and fear only creates another cycle. Kale placed the orb on the floor. I'm not here to debate. Just access the archive. Lena looked at the orb, then at Kale. You want to see it? The truth? I do. Her hand reached toward the orb, but instead of interfacing, she placed her fingers gently on Kale's temple. Then I will show you. And his mind cracked open. Kale stood on a battlefield that spanned continents. The earth was torn by fire and ice. Above, shattered moons rained debris. Armored human titans, powered by quantum rage, fought enemies both alien and familiar. Some screamed in rage, others in despair. He saw Lena as she once was, screaming into a headset as orbital lasers fired from above. Her team dying around her. She didn't cry. She recorded. Every second, every scream, every horror. The last protocol was born not from vengeance, but from guilt. They couldn't stop the war, so they chose to remember it. The Ghost Fleet wasn't an army. It was a vault of sorrow, a warning, a burden. Kale dropped to his knees as the memory flood pulled back. Lena stood over him, eyes dim. We begged the galaxy to leave us buried. We encoded horror into every sensor signature. We made ourselves haunted on purpose. You sacrificed yourselves, Kale said, barely able to speak. Yes, because we knew one day someone would come looking, and we wanted them to find the cost. Kale stared at the orb. If we take this, they'll use it. As a weapon. Lena nodded. Or as justification to erase us. Silence passed. Then, she asked, will you take it? Kale reached out. And hesitated. He looked up at her. You said you remember everything. Do you remember what hope feels like? Lena didn't answer immediately. Then, we buried that with Earth. Kale picked up the orb. I'll try to bring it back. Back on the Eidolon, Kale staggered into the bridge. His team was silent. Kale changed. He placed the orb into the mainframe slot. Begin controlled decryption. No external transmission. Internal eyes only. Nephra's voice sounded strained. You understand what you've brought aboard? Yes, Kale said. And I fear it more than I feared anything in my life. But you don't regret it. No, Kale whispered. Because someone has to remember. Someone has to carry the weight, without turning it into a weapon. The orb pulsed. Outside, the ghost fleet didn't stop him. It let the Eidolon drift away. Because now, the galaxy had a choice. They could learn from the wounds of Earth. Or add more to the archive.